Welcome to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken. Shep will talk with some of the smartest thinkers in business to help make you more successful in your professional and personal life. This is Amazing Business Radio with Shep Hyken.
Hello, everybody. Shep Hyken here. We're back with another episode of Amazing Business Radio. We have a great show today. It is an interview with Tim Hughes, who is considered the most influential social selling person in the world. And that's an amazing accomplishment. So we'll get that interview started in just a moment. A couple of quick announcements. If you have a story of amazing customer service that you'd like to share, or if you have a question, just please go to any of the social media channels because I'm probably there. And if it is a question, use the hashtag AskShep, hashtag AskShep. And I'll answer the question there on this show and my newsletter or my TV show, which is Be Amazing or Go Home. And you can catch episodes on Amazon Prime, Roku, Apple TV, or go to beamazing.tv. That's beamazing.tv. All right, let's get into the interview. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. I love all the things that you've got behind you in your office. It's actually difficult to not I start looking past you. Sorry if I.
Right. Well, that's okay. I know that the people who are listening to this are wondering what is he talking about. So I'm in my office, and everybody thinks, do you have an office at home? I have guitars. I have my sports memorabilia collection, and that is because my wife won't let me keep it in the house. Actually, we moved from a house to a condo about 9 years ago, and we just don't have room for everything. So I said, well, I'm going to move so much of the stuff I love to look at. By the way, if you were in my office, you go, wow, you must have ADD. And I do. I'm always looking around at all the different things I put on the walls and the knickknacks around here. And your office is filled with books. And right behind you is a frame with a picture in it that is of your new book, Social Selling: Techniques to Influence Buyers and Change Makers. We're going to talk about that book because
it is, yes.
You are the #1 most influential social selling person in the world. And that's amazing. So why don't you share with us a little insight about the book?
Okay, so it's the second edition of the book. The original book came out in 2016. And what I did then was I took all my knowledge that I had about social selling and put it into the book. And it's been a runaway bestseller. I mean, it's carried on selling, even though, it's 5-6 years old.
A lot has changed in 5 or 6 years. As a matter of fact, we can go back 5 or 6 months, probably things have changed.
Yes.
In the social
The thing
world.
is as you well know in business, the things change and also things don't change. So we set up our company DLA Ignite, where we help companies transform their sales teams to using social and digital. And we did that 6 years ago. And what we've learned is a whole bunch of stuff with those customers. And we got our first customers, and we've learned about what works and what doesn't work. So what I wanted to do with this book was actually take all the knowledge again today and pour it back into the book. So I took 2 weeks off just before Christmas 2021. And work through and completely change the narrative in the book to update it. I wrote 30% more. And what I wanted to do also was talk to customers of ours and people out there in the marketplace who are doing stuff around social. So I'm calling them practitioners, reached out to those and said, I'm writing a chapter on community, for example. You're an expert in community. Can you write me something about the communities that you're forming and why you're forming, etc.? So I've actually got 15 of these practitioners to contribute. I've got Mark Schaefer as writing the foreword.
I know Mark very well. Yep.
Yeah.
Mark and I are doing a program together in November. Let's see, what is the date of that? Like November 18th in New York. We're on the same program together.
Right. Mark, as you know, Mark is just awesome, and he's a person that I've always looked up to. One of my heroes, I guess. And so getting him to write the foreword was just awesome. So we've gone from 187 pages to now to over 300. So it's a real update in terms of the book.
That's
huge. And again, what I wanted to do was make sure that the book was, for me, it's about a practical guide. So it's not about my journey, or it's not about how I came about this. It's something that people can use every day. And I've got quotes from people where they've gone through with highlighter pens and they've got stickers on it and they use it every day.
Wow, interesting. I'm excited about the book. You said some things have changed and some things haven't changed. Tell me what hasn't changed in social in the last 6 or 7 years since the first book came out.
I think there's still, the modern buyer's changed, and modern buyer changed 10 years ago. And this is what what Adam Gray, my business partner, and I saw, and which is one of the reasons why I wrote the book, 6 years ago, which is that the modern buyer is empowered. They now have a mobile phone. They have access to an infinite amount of content. And if they want to look up your products and services, they can do that. The same as if you approach them, they can look you up on social media and see whether you exist. I get spam emails from people. First thing I do is I look to see if they exist on LinkedIn. And quite often they don't exist. It's like, well, it's obvious that if they don't exist on LinkedIn,
they don't exist in the world.
You don't exist. You don't exist in the world of business. So, it's probably, you're probably trying to scam, you're not trying to sell me, you're trying to scam me. So this is the thing. This is the way that we make decisions today. And what's happened, one of the things that's changed is COVID accelerated that. Before COVID, you probably, like me, flew around the world and went to all these different meetings, and now we can all do that from home. And
right.
And because
I had two of them today, as a matter of fact, 2 virtual presentations with clients.
Yeah. And the thing is that's now normal. I mean, I live in London, and I actually rarely now go into London because I just don't need to, because we can do it all here online. And that's the difference, that the buyer's changed. And what I would say is the job hunter's changed as well, because now the job hunter is actually like the modern buyer. What they're doing is that they're going online and they're checking you out as an organization. Are you the type of company I want to work for? Are you the type of company, can I see that you have the diversity and inclusion values that I would expect in your organization? Do you have the sustainability values that I would expect? And what they're looking for is they're looking at your leadership, and they're looking at the people in your company on social media and saying, is that the company I want to work for?
By the way, I also believe customers do the same thing to determine if you're a business that they would want to do business with.
Exactly. And whenever we go out and buy something, regardless of the value, what we're doing is that we're checking people out on social media. Is this a company I want to give my money to?
Reviews and comments.
Yeah. And the thing about reviews is 5 years ago we could get away with a review on the website that says, I spent some time with Tim Hughes and he was amazing and everything he said was absolutely fantastic. Now you can actually go on and say, well, I'm going to look at Tim Hughes's podcast and see actually if the things that he says are amazing. I'm going to listen to, so we can actually, having something that just says some trite thing on the website that says we're brilliant isn't good enough anymore, because we're able and empowered to go and check those things out for ourselves.
And social media has made it very easy. My friend Jay Bear calls, especially when it comes to customer service and experience and reviews and people leaving comments and watching interaction, he refers to social media as a spectator sport for customers to see how brands and companies respond to their customers on good and bad comments, on any type of comment for that matter.
Yeah, and I mean, Mark Schaefer says in the foreword that going back a number of years, when social media came out, brands jumped in and said, this is a great way of actually having a conversation with our customers. It's like, just think, this is amazing. We're actually able to talk to our customers. And then what they did was that they went through a process of automation, and actually they wanted to distance themselves. I often say to people that the worst thing that ever happened was the website, because what that did was it actually distanced us from our customers. And what's happening now, or certainly what Mark and I am seeing, is that people are going back and saying, actually, what we need to do is we need to be having one-to-one conversations. And the realization that sometimes customers might not be happy, and we have to deal with that. And also what we have to realize is sometimes people don't agree with what we say, and we have to understand that as well. And realize that people have different belief systems. And I think people are coming around, and what we're seeing with social media, and certainly with the customer brand relationship, is a maturity to actually realize that there's a whole bunch of things that we can get, instant research and development. We can get people who are, the super fan. I know you've got guitars. I collect vinyl records. There's a lot, of super fans of certain bands that will buy just about anything. I've just bought a vinyl box set. There's only 49 of them exist in the world.
Wow. So, who's the artist?
So there's a Polish rock band called Riverside, and the only way that you could get it was actually being part of the fan club.
Interesting. So they've created this social community, which is fascinating. I want to go back to something you just said, with the whole idea of automation and the companies who attempted to automate all responses. And what they really did is there's no faking the customer out at this point. So yes. I work with a lot of companies that create technology to help automate social responses to concerns. And I just want to say that there is a balance between automation and personal responses. You can't, if you're getting thousands of people saying, you're a great product, I love your product, it's nice to say thank you very much. You can automate that type of response. But if somebody's making a different type of comment that requires you to jump in and share an opinion, or maybe they have a complaint or a need or a question, that's where it flips. Sometimes that can be automated, but that's where it needs to, the AI, the automation machine that is looking at this needs to detect, is this a comment that needs human interaction? So do you believe in that blend or balance, if you will?
Yeah, I think that there needs to be a balance. And I do think that, whether there can be automation. But the thing is that I think sometimes brands seem to think that the customer is stupid. We know when there's automation. We know when we're being fobbed off. My internet provider, I complained about the service that I was getting, because I do a lot of podcasts, and if it goes down, it has a big impact on me. And all they did was that they sent this automated response to me, which was written in completely gobbledygook. I don't know if that translates into American. So it was absolutely rubbish. And there was no ability for you to go around and say, well, I don't agree with this, or I want to escalate it.
Right.
And I think that's a case where people get it wrong. But I know with my internet provider, that I can go onto social media, onto Twitter, and have a conversation with them.
Yeah. And by the way, I want to talk about that. We need to take a break. And when we come back, I want to specifically talk about why customers go to social media to make the comments. And I think you've just set up the case that it wasn't the first attempt. It was a reason you had to go, because you couldn't get it resolved any other way. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more with Tim Hughes in just a moment. Remember, the book is titled Social Selling: Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers. And if you're listening to this, it is either just about ready to come out or has just been released. You can go to Amazon.com or any other place that sells books, but Amazon's pretty much all over the world. So go ahead, get the book, and enjoy social selling. We will be right back. Don't go away. Hi, Shep Hyken, your customer service and experience expert, and I'm excited to tell you about my new book, I'll Be Back: How to Get Customers to Come Back Again and Again. Now, this book is packed with idea after idea on how to, just as the title implies, get your customers to come back. In the book, you'll learn that repeat customers aren't always loyal customers. Now, both are great, but there's a big difference. You'll also learn about 10 reasons a customer may stop doing business with you and 3 reasons you would stop doing business with them. And one of my favorite lessons is a 6-step process for creating an I'll Be Back strategy. Of course, there's much, much more. You'll start getting more of your customers to say, I'll be back almost immediately. Just go to www.illbebackbook.com. Again, that's www.illbebackbook.com.
You're listening to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken.
We're back on Amazing Business Radio talking with Tim Hughes, author of Social Selling. Tim, just before the break, I had mentioned there's a reason that that customers go to social media to get help and to resolve problems and complain. And our research has shown that this is not the first place that people go, that usually it's a second or even third choice. They've tried to get their problem resolved. Either they've made a call, couldn't get through, long hold times, their emails weren't responded to, or maybe they just heard an answer they didn't like. And by the way, I always tell people that if you really feel you're right and you're not being unreasonable and you call a company and they don't give you the answer you want and you still feel you're right, hang up the phone and call and see if you can get somebody else, because they will probably give you a different answer. It's just
I'd agree with that.
Uh-huh.
I think that you'll quite often, I mean, we've been in situations where we've cancelled things, and the company basically, so you go through the process of cancelling, and then the company actually rings you up 2 days later and say, if you don't cancel, we'll give it to you for whatever you want or something.
That's exactly what happened recently. You mentioned your internet provider. We've had tremendous problems with our internet here in our building, and we're paying for high bandwidth. And I'm on Zoom calls on virtual events, and it's crashing. So we call them up, and they tell us, and boy, it was a debacle, one thing after another. And finally, we said, look, we can't do business with you anymore. We can't count on you. And you know what they did? They not only dropped the price of my monthly, they gave me some refund because of the last 6 weeks that we've had a problem with. And they said, we're dropping you for your monthly, and this is now permanent. At the end of the year, it's not going to, this isn't a promotional price. We want to keep you. They dropped me to a point that's so low, I can't afford to get off the pro.
It's the same with my internet provider. I'm now at a price point where I heard an advert for the competition this morning. I thought, well, I'm paying less than that, and I actually get more. So, because they say it's more expensive than us to actually disconnect you.
Right. All right. So back to the original thought or question here. You said you agree that people don't go to social media first. As a matter of fact, our research shows that is the least desired channel for first interactions. But when people do go, it's because they're, for lack of a better term, seeking revenge because they couldn't get the answer, and they want to show the world there's a problem. Yeah,
I think that most people will probably call or email. I tend to find that the people on the social media channels are not empowered enough. So if you make a reasonable request. So there used to be a time when I could, if I was trying to get a parcel delivered, I could go to the Twitter channel of the particular parcel provider and talk to them and get it, and they would. And now that's all been cut.
Yeah, that's a shame. Yeah,
which forces me to go. They're forcing me to go to the web or use an app.
Yeah, they're forcing you to go social and share the world. Because like when I go to Twitter, and I've used this example on the show before. My favorite example is American Airlines.
Right.
I don't go publicly and tweet, "Please help. I'm stuck. You canceled my flight." I direct message American Airlines, and I'm amazed that typically it's less than 10 minutes. I get a response with the resolution. I'm flying around. I mean, this is my favorite. I'm in the air. We have internet on the plane. We're circling an airport because there's bad weather. Everybody's flights are being canceled. I can see, except for mine. If I don't land, I'm going to misconnect and not get home that night because my flight happens to be the only one that seems to be flying. So I direct message, and they say, if you can't make the flight, we have you protected. First thing tomorrow morning, you're on that flight. So hopefully you'll get the first flight. But if not, I'm thinking, wow, this is great. And this has not happened once. This is a number of times that this has happened, and they do an amazing job. So that's I think the right way to use social media as a channel is to try to direct message. Facebook has it.
The thing that organizations do that get it right is that there's an individual at the end of it. And what you're able to do is build a one-to-one relationship with that person. The moment you make a comment open air on Twitter, they should immediately contact you and say, let's go for a DM conversation. That takes it off the main social.
Right.
And then what you do is you build up a relationship. So for example, LinkedIn support. I do all my LinkedIn support through DMs on Twitter. I know that kind of sounds a bit ironic, but there's a person there that that you feel, well, a person, it's probably multiple people, but you feel that you build a relationship with them and they actually sort it out for you. And that's what you're looking for.
Right. And it's a little bit of trust. When that happens, it builds your trust and your confidence
Yeah.
that that's the way to do it. So everybody listening, who actually, and when I'm talking about, if you're a customer, DM the company before you go social. Even if you're angry as can be, DM, by the way, your anger could come through, but be reasonable and use the right words. It's easier, what do they say, to attract flies with honey than something like that. Anyway, the next thing, if you're a brand or a company and somebody comments and you're not happy with what they're saying and they're upset with you, say, hey, we don't like, acknowledge it. I mean, we have this 5-step process for any complaint. You acknowledge, apologize, discuss the resolution, own the problem, even if it's not your fault. It's now your problem to solve. And number 5, act with urgency. And you can do all that on social. But the first thing you want to do is respond, move them to DM, say, hey, let's jump to a direct message link so I can get your information and talk to you directly. And then if everything's working out, I would say to the brand, come back on and thank the customer for reaching out so that the rest of the world can see that you did resolve. And in the perfect world, that customer is going to see that you came back on and thank you for taking care of them. And then that closes the loop and it makes you look like a hero, even with the initial problem.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your book. We only have a few minutes. Give us like the top 2 or 3 nuggets that you'd like to share out of the book.
Well, I think the first thing is that there's 3 things that people need to know. And this is the same for whether you're a brand, whether you're selling, or whether you're a brand and you want to show that you're giving customer experience. And the 3 things is that your employees need to be empowered on social, because we know that the buyer's there. And they need, and the first thing is we call it a buyer-centric profile, but they need to look good. This is not look good as in here I am and aren't I amazing. This is look good to the buyer, because what you'll find is that if you look good to the buyers will walk towards you. We've got a client, Namos, they're a Oracle reseller. And one of their prospects basically said, you look interesting, can you help me? And the person said yes, and that turns into a $2.6 million deal. So the fact is that there are people there looking or searching for help, not necessarily making comments on Twitter, but they're searching for help because they're looking to buy things. And this is all part of the customer experience, which is looking and to support the buyer. You are an expert. The second thing is that what you need is to have a wide and varied network. The wide and varied network is where you want to influence. So it may be the people that you're selling to. It may be you. It may be Brian Solis. It may be companies like KPMG or PwC who might influence the sale. But what you're doing in that is that you're building this network that allows you to influence as many people. And what you're going to do is that you're going to be seen every day, and you're going to be seen every day because what you're going to do is you're going to create content. We know that the modern customer is looking to consume content. They're looking to consume not a brochure that just says buy my product because it's great, because everybody says that. What they're looking for is help and advice. If I'm spending $1 million on a new accounting system, I want help with that. I'm going to need to give a board presentation. So having here's an example of board presentation that we often see customers use, and sharing that knowledge and being helpful for people, and people will respect that. What happens is
it's amazing. I just want to jump in and tell you that what we're talking about is not just social selling. It's really driving an experience that builds trust with a brand. If
100%.
If I'm that brand, and by the way, this is how I make a living. I don't get on the phone and pick it up and smile and dial and cold call like I did in the early 80s when I first started, when the internet had not yet been invented, or at least not for the public. What I do today, I put out tons of content, and I've seen and I emulate the best brands in the world doing this. They put out information that isn't selling. It's informative. It's digestible and needed. And you know what? When people see enough of this, they start to know, like, and trust you for the content that you create. So important that you pay close attention to number 2 here. And that is deliver an experience that's really a content experience.
It is. And the thing is what we're looking for is authentic. We're looking for authentic content. So, if we talked earlier on, about what a business should be doing. If you have diversity and inclusion, you're big on that. Share that with people. If you're big on sustainability, you should be sharing that, not in a way that says, hey, buy my product because we're great, because we see through that. What you do is you empower your employees to write about it. Hey, we've just been on a charity day and we went to a local zoo and we were cleaning out one of the zoo animals, and it's really great working here. And people are going to look at that and go, that's the company I want to invest in, or that's the company I want to work for, or that's the company I want to buy from. And this is what we're looking for. It's got to be authentic, and you've got to be empowering your people.
Right. So it's not only good content that teaches, but it's good content that shares the personality of the company.
100%. One of the things that I get from your content, it's quite interesting coming on and meeting you, because I feel that I already know you. So it's a bit like when you meet someone, say, from a soap opera or something, where you've been watching the soap opera for years, and then you meet them for the first time, but you actually think you know them, but you know their character.
A friend of mine, well, I call him a friend. I'd never met him before. I've just been interacting with him on social media, and he says he's coming to St. Louis. And I said, where are you going to be? What are you doing? And he says, I'm passing through on my way to whatever. I'm driving, and I'm going to stay at this hotel. I said, that hotel is right down the street. Why don't we get together for dinner? And we did. But before he got I said, why are you staying at a hotel? Why don't you just stay at my place? Okay. I don't know this guy. I've never met him, but I feel very connected to him.
Yes. Yeah. We can do that. I've met people all over the world that I've just met through Twitter. Or LinkedIn, and I do that, and that's the thing, is that what we're doing in the customer experience is that you get to know, like, and trust people. And also what you're doing is if you're creating content that's engaging, and you remember you don't know a piece of content is engaging until you consume it. So once you do that, you start knowing, liking, and trusting someone, and you are ever present in that person. So they know as soon as they're going to buy something or interact with you or interact with your company, they know where they're going to go.
Yep.
And this is the thing, which is where you need to have a profile that people, a buyer-centric profile that people like and say, you can help me. You need to have a wide and varied network, and you need to be creating content which is interesting, engaging, and entertaining. And those are the three things that you need around social selling.
All right. Well, I get to ask you one more question. You get to give us one more nugget of information in under a minute. This is the final question I ask it of every person we have on the show. What's the one last nugget of information that you absolutely think this audience listening today needs to hear from you?
So if you put all that together and you empower your employees to do that, what you're able to, in effect, do is what we call digital dominance. So this is where you're able to completely push out all of the conversations that are going on by your competition. And we have a number of clients that are doing this at the moment. So they're able to get into accounts that they were never able to get into before. But what they're also able to do is completely own the narrative. So in the past, what you did was you hired a PR department, and what they did was that they sent out press releases. It doesn't work anymore. What we're doing here is actually owning the whole of the narrative on digital, which is where your buyers and customers are.
Wow. Love it. Love it. Love it. So the term digital dominance, and what that does, it creates credibility. It creates better relationships with existing customers. It creates trust with new customers. This is why we call this Amazing Business Radio. Tim Hughes, thank you very much. The book, again, it's titled Social Selling. Get it today. It's the new version. It's expanded to almost double, if not even more, than what was there before. Tim, thanks for being on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. It's been great talking to you.
All right. Yeah, and I hope we get to do it again. All right, everybody. That wraps it up. Another episode of Amazing Business Radio. We'll be back next week with another interview. So until that time, this is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.